By Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, demise of criminal royalty. Notorious underworld figure and drug kingpin Markandure Madush shot dead. Long-awaited clarity. Supreme Court ruling on the draft bill of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution presented in Parliament. 4 articles require a referendum. On the border, 5 more police areas added to the curfew list. Subcluster infections, meanwhile, on the rise. Whom to trust? Former Chief of State Intelligence contradicted at the Presidential Commission probing the spate of terror. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Tuesday, the 20th of October, 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then Dikukal pavatina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammik Ekanaika. Let's start with your local stories. Now, as you may already know, notorious underworld figure and drug kingpin Markandure Madush, who was at the center of various news reports over time, was shot dead during a shootout during the early hours of this morning. Now, the incident happened when a police team accompanied Madush to a housing complex in Maligavatta after the underworld figure revealed information of a haul of drugs stashed in one of the flats. The criminal is well known for the murder of Chairman of Southern Development Authority, Danny Hittatige, in 2006. Samarasingha Arachilage Madush Lakshita, alias Markandure Madush, was accused of various murders and crimes in the island, and he was in hiding overseas for quite some time. In February of 2019, however, Madush and a group were arrested by the police in Dubai during a party over using and possessing heroin. On the 5th of May that year, Madush was deported from the United Arab Emirates. Madush had, however, used a fake passport under the name Varnakula Surya Ajit Aranga, with a plan in place to flee to another country. He was, however, arrested at the Bandaranaike International Airport by the Criminal Investigation Department. Following interrogations of almost 1.5 years under the CID, Madush was transferred to the custody of the Colombo Crime Division on the 16th of this month. Upon information uncovered during interrogations, officers of the Colombo Crime Division found 10 kilograms of heroin from a garage in the area of Kotikavatta the next day. During the process, Madush had told the CCD investigators that there are 4 key figures behind the network which brings drugs into the country, and to reveal them, he had asked for a mobile phone. Madush's request for a phone was granted under strict supervision of police officers, and the drug kingpin had made a call to a drug racketeer in the presence of the officers. During the call, the racketeer had revealed information of a haul of drugs weighing around 20 kilograms stashed in a flat. The racketeer had said that the stash is at the house where an individual called Ralph was shot. Madush had then told the police that the haul of drugs is stashed in a flat owned by Kanchipan Imran on the 10th floor at the Laksata housing complex in Maligavatta. The underworld figure named Ralph, who had been at the said flat, was shot on the 30th of May. With the intention of confirming the new information, 4 officers of the Colombo Crime Division had clandestinely been to the said flat last evening. With no one present at the flat, the police officers had entered the flat via a window and conducted the search, during which they found the haul of drugs. Armed with that information, 17 police officers in total, including the officer in charge of the Colombo Crime Division and the OIC of its Organised Crime Investigation Unit, had accompanied Madush to the said housing complex at around 3 this morning. The OIC of the CCD, accompanied by 6 police officers and Madush, had entered the housing complex via the stairs while leaving other police officers at the 2 main gates of the housing complex. Just as they approached the first floor, two armed individuals had opened fire on them from the second floor. In that initial burst, Madhush had been shot in the head and a police officer had been hit in the leg. The CCD officers had then returned fire and the two suspects had attempted to flee on their motorcycle, which they used to get there, whilst continuing to shoot at the police officers. During the exchange, the suspects had lost control of their motorcycle and had toppled over. When police officers advanced towards the suspects, the duo had launched a hand grenade at them, which left a CCD constable with minor injuries. The police said the two suspects then abandoned the motorcycle and fled the scene. Investigations are underway in search of the duo. Meanwhile, the motorcycle used by the shooters had been stolen recently from the Vallavatta police area. Their theft of the motorcycle was also caught on CCTV. The police also said that Madhush was taken to the Colombo National Hospital at around 3:17 a.m, but by that time he had already been dead. Meanwhile, the two police officers who sustained injuries during the incident are also receiving treatment at the National Hospital. A later search of a flat at the 20th floor of the housing complex yielded 22 kilograms of heroin.
මාකන්දුර මදුෂ්ගේ අනුගාමිකයන් පිරිසක් විසින් හෙරොයින් මද්‍රව්‍ය ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ ස්ථානයේ උඩුමහල 10 වෙනි තට්ටුවේ කාමරයක නැත්නම් නිවසක සංගවා තබලා එය පොලිසියට ලබා දීම අදහසින් තමයි මේ ස්ථාන පොලිසිය කැඳවලා තිබ්බේ. එසේ වුණත් ඊටාම උපක්‍රමික ලෙස ඔවුන් සැලසුම් කරලා තිබිලා තියෙනවා මෙම මහල් නිවාසයේ තරප්පු පෙළ නගමින් උඩට යන පොලිස් නිලධාරීන්ට සැඟවී සිටිමින් පිස්තෝල අවිවලින් වෙඩි ප්‍රහාරයක් එල්ල කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒකම අපරාධකරුවන් පාවිච්චි කළායයි සැක කරන බ්‍රවුනින් වර්ගයේ පිස්තෝල දෙකක් මෙම ස්ථානයේ තිබී සොයාගෙන තියෙනවා.
The haul of drugs was brought to the Maligavatta police station for it to be produced before the Maligakanda Magistrates Court.
The magisterial in respect of the death of drug kingpin Makandure Madhush was conducted today by the magistrate of court number 4 of Hasdorf. Then thereafter the autopsy in respect of the dead body was conducted, and after the autopsy the court ordered to hand over the dead body to the legitimate wife of the deceased, and OIC Maligavatta is conducting further investigation into the death under the directions of SSP Colombo Central Division. In addition to that, CCD is investigating further investigations into the anti-narcotic operation that was conducted this morning.
Safeguard hand sanitizer. නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නිරෝගීමත් දිවයකට.
Now, the Supreme Court ruling on the draft bill of the 20th Amendment to the Constitution was presented to the Parliament today by Speaker Mahinda Yapa Abeyewardena. He read out that 4 articles included in the amendment require a public referendum as they are inconsistent with the Constitution. The Supreme Court ruling was delivered to the President and the Speaker on the 10th of this month after deliberating 39 fundamental rights petitions filed challenging the constitutionality of the bill.
After considering 39 petitions filed challenging the 20th Amendment to the Constitution, the Supreme Court informed its decision to the Speaker, and it was announced at the commencement of Parliament today.
I have received the determination of the Supreme Court in respect of bill entitled 20th Amendment to the Constitution, which has been challenged in the Supreme Court in terms of Article 121(1) of the Constitution. The Supreme Court has determined as follows. The bill complies with provisions of Article 82(1) of the Constitution, requires the pass by special majority specified in Article 82(5) of the Constitution. Clauses 3, 5, 4 and 22 in their present form are inconsistent with the Article 3 read with Article 4 of the Constitution and therefore require approval by the people at a referendum by virtue of the provisions of Article number 83. However, such inconsistency in clauses 3 and 14 would ease by amending in accordance with the proposed committee stage amendments, and the inconsistency in clause number 5 would cease if clause 5 is suitably amended specified in the determination.
Accordingly, under Article 3 of the Constitution, the Supreme Court has suggested that a referendum be held on the removal of several functions of the President, including the holding of free and fair elections, on instructions of the Election Commission, and the creating of a conducive environment for a referendum. The Supreme Court has also ruled that, as mentioned by Article 5, the removal of the people's right granted by the 19th Amendment to submit fundamental rights petitions against the President can only be done via a referendum. The Supreme Court ruled that a referendum is also needed on Article 14, which proposes to vest the President with the power to dissolve Parliament after an year of its sittings, which is an amendment from the previously held power to dissolve Parliament after 4.5 years. The Supreme Court has decided that a referendum is required with regard to Article 22, which proposes to remove the right to penalise public servants for disregarding advice of the Election Commission without any justifiable reason. In the meantime, members of the Cabinet expressed views on steps that are to be taken by the government with regard to the 20th Amendment to the Constitution after the Supreme Court decision on the 20th Amendment draft bill was announced in Parliament today.
නිදහස් සහ සාධාරණ මැතිවරණයක් පැවැත්වීමට උචිත වාතාවරණයක් සැකසීමේ ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ වගකීම ඉවත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. ජනමත විචාර යොමු කළ යුතුයි කියලා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය ප්‍රකාශ කරලා තියෙනවා. අපි හැබැයි ඒ වෙනට දැනුම් දීමක් කළා තිබුණා නීතිපතිවරයා හරහා නෑ අපි ඒක කමිටු අවස්ථාවේදී හඳුන්වා දෙනවා. ඒතකොට ජනමත විචාරණයේ ප්‍රශ්නේ පැන නගින්නේ නෑ. 14 වෙනි වගන්තියෙන් පාර්ලිමේන්තු වසරකට පසු ජනාධිපතිතුමාට විසිරුවා හැරීමේ බලය ලබා දුන්න ඇත්ත මේක නීතිපතිවරයා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයට දැනුම් දීමක් කළා තිබ්බා නෑ වසර නෙවෙයි වසර දෙකමාර දක්වා මේ කාලය දීර්ඝ කරන්න කමිටු අවස්ථාවේදී යෝජනාව ඉදිරිපත් වෙනවා කියලා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය කියනවා වසර දෙකමාර වෙනවා නම් ජනමත විචාරණයට යෑමේ අවශ්‍යතාවයක් මතුවෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා. එතකොට ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයේ ජනමත විචාරණයකට යෑමට නියම කරේ කාරණා 4ක් සම්බන්ධයෙන් කාරණා 4න් දෙකක්ම නීතිපතිවරයා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයටම දැනුම් දී තිබුණා ඒක කමිටු අවස්ථාවේදී වෙනස් වෙනවා කියලා. ඊටු දෙක ඊයේ ඇමති මණ්ඩලයේදී තීරණය කරා මුල් ආකාරයෙන්ම පවත්වා ගන්න. ඒ නිසා ජනමත විචාරණයට යෑමේ අවශ්‍යතාවයක් මතුවෙන්නේ නැහැ.
ජනාධිපතිතුමාට සහයෝගය දක්වපු ජාතිහිතයිෂී ජාතිමාමක බලවේගයන් වල කරුණු සලකා බලලා කරුණු 3ක් අපි ඉවත් කරගන්නවා. එකක් තමයි අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයේ සීමා. ඒක 19 ආකාරයටම අපි තියාගන්න කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ 19 වන සංශෝධනයේ ආකාරයටම විගණකනට ලක් විය යුතු ආයතන මොන ආකාරයටද විය යුත්තේ? ඒක විගණන පනතේ තියෙන ආකාරයටම එයත් ඒ විදිහටම අපි තියාගන්න කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. තුන්වෙනි එක හදිසි පනත් ගෙන ඒම අපි සීමා කරලා තියෙනවා. හදිසි ආපදා තත්වයකදී සහ රටේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාවට තර්ජනයක් වන අවස්ථාවේදී ගෙනිය යුතු හදිසි පනත් සම්බන්ධයෙන් පමණකට සීමා කරලා තියෙනවා.
විපක්ෂයේ ආందోලනාත්මකව කතා කරනවා ද්විත්ව පුරවැසිභාවය ගැන.
ද්විත්ව පුරවැසිභාවය සම්බන්ධයෙන් වෙනසක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
අපි සෑහීමකටපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ද්විත්ව රටවැසිභාවය පිළිබඳ දැනට පවතින පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට පැමිණීමේ බාධාව ඉවත් නොවී තිබීම පිළිබඳව අපි සෑහීමකටපත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. කාට හරි ද්විත්ව පුරවැසියෙකුට ලංකාවේ දේශපාලන වශයෙන් සක්‍රීය භූමිකාවකට පනපවන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් වෙනත් රටකට තියෙන බැඳීම පක්ෂපාතිත්වය අතහැරිය යුතුයි. 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනයට සහයෝගය දැනීම සඳහා ඒගොල්ලෝ වෙනම කතා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒක මට ඊයේ රවුෆ් හකීමුත් කිව්වා එයාටත් කතා කරයි කියලා. මට මනෝගණේෂන් ඇමතිවරයාත් කිව්වා එයාත් මටත් කතා කරයි කියලා. රිෂාඩ්ට කතා නොකර ඉන්න විදියක් නැහැ. ඒ නිසා අගමැතිතුමා පැහැදිලිවම ප්‍රකාශ කළා තියෙනවා කණ්ඩායම් රැස්වීමේදී මුස්ලිම් පක්ෂවල සහයෝගය හම්බ වෙනවා කියලා. එතකොට විමල් වීරවංශ විරුද්ධ වුණාම මුස්ලිම් පක්ෂවල සහායයෙන් කොහොමද මේක පාස් කරන්න කියලා. එතකොට කියලා තියෙනවා නෑ ඒකේ රවුෆ් හකීම් රිෂාඩ් බදියුදීන් ඡන්දෙ දෙන්නේ නැහැ අනිත් කට්ටිය ඡන්දෙ දෙනවා.
In the meantime, Cabinet spokesperson Kehelia Rambukwala today questioned as to why the provision which bans dual citizens from being elected to Parliament was included in the 19th Amendment to the Constitution in response to a question raised by a journalist during the Cabinet media briefing today. He said that until the 19th Amendment came into being, there were no issues pertaining to dual citizens holding public office in the country since 1948. The minister also said that an agreement was reached on 3 factors pertaining to the 20th Amendment to the Constitution during yesterday's cabinet meeting.
ජනතාව හමුවේ අපේ මේ බඩු මිල අඩු කරන්නවත් එහෙම නැත්නම් වෙන කාර්යයකට මේ තුනෙන් දෙකක බලයක් එල්ලුවේ විශේෂයෙන්ම මේ පූර්ණ ව්‍යවස්ථා සංශෝධනයකට එසේ නැත්නම් අලුත් නව ව්‍යවස්ථාවක් ගෙන ඒමට ඒ වගේම ජනතාවගේ බලය ලබලා දීලා තියෙන නිසා අපේ වගකීමක් යුතුයකමක් තිබෙනවා අපේ ඉදිරි වැඩපිළිවෙළවල් වලට යම් යම් බාධාවන් වෙලා තිබෙන යම් වගන්ති 19 වෙනි සංශෝධනයේ ඉවත් කර 20 වෙනි සංශෝධනය ගෙන ඒමට ඊ අවසාන වශයෙන් තිබ්බ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලයේදී අපි යම් තීන්දුව එසේ නම් සුවිශේෂ වශයෙන්ම 19න් එහාට ගිය අපි එකඟ වෙච්ච අමතරව අවසානයේ අපි අපේ එකඟතාවයට කරුණු 3ක් සම්බන්ධව අපේ එකඟතාවයකට ආවා.
19 වෙනි සංශෝධනයෙන් තිබිච්ච ද්විත්ව පුරවැසිභාවයට තිබිච්ච බාධාව ඉවත් කරනවා කියලා තියෙනවා. ආචාර්ය ජී.එල්. පිරිස් මහත්මයා කියලා තිබුණා ඒක ශ්‍රී ලාංකිකයෙක්ට ඒ පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට එන්න අවස්ථාව ලබා දෙනවා කියලා. කාගේ ඌමනාව මතද ද්විත්ව පුරවැසිභාවයේ තියෙන කට්ටියට පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට එන්න ඒ පාර සලස්සලා දීලා තියෙනවා.
එතකොට මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ආපහු අහන්න වෙනවා කාගේ වමනාවක් අනුවද 19ට ඒක ඇතුල් කරේ කියන එකත්. මොකද 1948 සිට මෙතෙක් දක්වා එහෙම ප්‍රශ්නයක් නොතිබුණ වුණා. තේරෙන විදිහට, පේන විදිහට, දකින විදිහට, දැනෙන විදිහට බොහොම පැහැදිලිව එක කණ්ඩායමක් ඉලක්ක කරගෙන ගත්ත තීන්දුව ගන්න.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, taking a look at the pandemic situation in Sri Lanka, the rise in COVID-19 cases in the country led to the imposition of another quarantine curfew, this time in the areas, or police areas, I should say, of Kuliyapitiya, Pannala, Giriulla, Narammala and Dummala Surya. These police areas were placed on the quarantine curfew immediately and will be in effect until further notice. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 infections emerging from the subclusters outside the Minuwangoda apparel factory continues to rise, with authorities urging the public to strictly adhere to health measures stipulated by the government.
The total of infected people emerging from the Minuwangoda COVID-19 cluster increased to 2,222, with the 60 new cases being confirmed today. Out of those 60, 35 are employees of garment factories in the Katunayaka Free Trade Zone, and the other 25 are their associates. Accordingly, the number of infections confirmed from the Katunayaka Free Trade Zone has increased to 303.
PCR, we have 24 centers. Total number of PCR tests performed 398,196 this year. We have a number of treatment centers. We have 21 treatment centers at present, and number of people quarantined in quarantine centers 7,295. Except Minuwangoda cluster, it is 1,865, and Minuwangoda cluster 5,429. I would require unconditional support from public to curtail the spread of COVID-19 further. So please adhere to the DREAM concept, that is D for distancing, RE for respiratory etiquette, A for aseptic techniques, hand washing, and M for wearing mask. Also, 3 C's are important: avoid crowding, avoid close contacts, and avoid close spaces. So we have to stay with much ventilated space.
Health officials of the Colombo Municipal Council meanwhile say that 20 infected persons have been identified within the Colombo Municipal Council area since the emergence of the Minuwangoda apparel factory cluster. 5 of them were reported from 4th Cross Street in Petta.
සමාජගත වෙලා කියලා අපි කියන්නේ තනින් තනින් එක එක මතුවෙන්නට පටන් ගත්තොත් එවැනි තත්වයක් තවමත් අපි කොළඹ නගරය තුල දකින්නේ නැහැ.
දැන් මේකට මැනින් වෙළඳ පොළ දිගින් දිගටම අපි දකිනවා යම් යම් ආසාදිතයන් හමු වෙනවා.
මැනින් වෙළඳ පොළේ එක් සේවකයෙක්ගේ බිරිඳක්ට වෛරස් ආසාදන වී ඇති බව PCR පරීක්ෂණයෙන් තහවුරු බවට පැතිර ගිය කටකතාවක් නිසා ඒ ගුදම සහ කඩවල් 23ක් ඒ ප්‍රදේශයේ පිහිටලා තියෙන ඔවුන්ගේ PCR පරීක්ෂණ සිදු කරනු ලැබුවා. නමුත් අපිට කිසිදු හෝ
Also in Colombo, an employee of the World Trade Center has tested positive. He is employed at a private company located on the 32nd floor of the West Tower, and the staff members who came into contact with the infected person will be subjected to PCR tests. Elsewhere in Colombo, police stated that an inspector of the Western Province Special Investigation Unit located in Colombo Fort has also been infected with the virus. 11 of his contacts were placed under quarantine and are scheduled to undergo PCR tests.
ඊයේ දිනේදීම මෙම රෝගීන් අපි වැඩිදුර ප්‍රතිකාර සඳහා IDH සෝහලට යොමු කරා. තොරතුරු සොයාගෙන යාමේදී පියාත් කොරෝනා ආසාදනයට ලක් කළ ඇති බවට අපට සනාථ කරගන්න ලැබුණා. ඒ වගේම පියා බොරැල්ල ආසන්නයේම පෞද්ගලික ඝාතනයක සේවය කරන පුජ්‍යලයෙක්.
With the detection of 6 fresh cases, infections confirmed from the Colombo dockyard, which is another subcluster of the Minuwangoda apparel factory, rose to 18 today. They are identified as residents of Ragama, Matugama, Vennapur, Gaul, Nigambo, Matara as well as Mulatiyana. Meanwhile, an employee of the Colombo dockyard residing in the area of Pahatagama in Hangwella, who had been subjected to self-quarantine, has been diagnosed with the virus. As per Public Health Inspector of Hangwella, steps were taken last night to refer the infected person to the Infectious Diseases Hospital. Several shops he frequented located in the Pahatgama area were temporarily shut and its employees were placed under quarantine. The family members of the infected were also quarantined. In the meantime, another employee of the Colombo dockyard residing in Kudamaduwa of Polgas Ovita has contracted COVID-19. He was subjected to a PCR test due to a co-worker being confirmed to have travelled in the Matugama Colombo bus, where a number of infections were detected. The results of the test returned positive. In Beruwala, a 47-year-old man attached to a number of small-scale garment factories in Maggona has been diagnosed with the coronavirus. Currently, 47 of his associates are quarantined. In another development, a 2-year-old girl who is receiving treatment at the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Colombo and her mother have also been infected with the coronavirus. Meanwhile, with 14 new cases from the MOH division in Kuliapitia being identified yesterday, the number of infected persons emerging from the division has increased to 25. In such a backdrop, the Department of Government Information announced the imposition of a curfew in the police areas of Kuliapitia, Pannala, Giriyulla, Narammala and Dummala Surya until further notice. Accordingly, quarantine curfew under the regulations of the Quarantine and Prevention of Diseases Ordinance has been imposed in 24 police areas of the country. What's more, the government has decided to allow shops with essential food items and pharmacies which are located in the curfew-imposed areas within the Gampaha district to operate during the day today. Accordingly, the shops are permitted to remain open until 10 a.m.
මෙම ඇඳරින් නීතිය නැවත දන්නවතුරු බලාපොරොත්තු වන ආකාරයට තමයි පනවලා තිබෙන්නේ. ඒත් එක්කම අද දිනේදී මීට ප්‍රථම නිරෝධායන ඇඳරින් නීතිය යොදවා තිබූ ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ නිරෝධායන ඇඳරින් නීතිය යොදවා තිබුණු පොලිස් බල ප්‍රදේශවල සිටින මහජනතාවට ඔවුන්ගේ අත්‍යවශ්‍ය භාණ්ඩ සහ බෙහෙත් ද්‍රව්‍ය ලබා ගැනීම වෙනුවෙන් අද උදෑසන 8 සිට රාත්‍රී 10 වෙනතුරු ඔවුන්ගේ ඒ බඩු බාහිරද ලබා ගැනීමට අවකාශය ලබා දුන්නා.
Meanwhile, the district secretary of Gampaha stated that payment of the 5,000 rupee allowance has commenced in the areas where quarantine curfew is imposed. Accordingly, steps have been taken to provide the allowance to 72,345 families in the Minuangoda, Divulapitia and Veyangoda police divisions under the first phase.
We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, former Director of State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena was severely contradicted at the Presidential Commission probing the Easter Sunday attacks during cross-examination. When Jayawardena said that he only contacted former President Maithripala Sirisena on 61 occasions from the 1st of December in 2018 to the 1st of May in 2019, the legal counsel representing His Eminence, the Cardinal, showed the Commission otherwise. The former SIS chief was also warned by the Commission's chairman over the manner in which he responded to questions during the cross-examination.
The cross-examination of former Director of the State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena commenced yesterday before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing the Easter Sunday attacks. Representing Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit President's Counsel Shamil Pereira asked the witness whether there was an environment where the State Intelligence Chief connected with the President on a daily basis. After pursuing his data, the former SIS chief said that he had connected with the President only on 61 occasions since the 1st of December 2018 to the 1st of May in 2019. Quoting telephone records, the President's counsel then put to the former SIS chief that during the period from the 1st of January 2019 to the 31st of March 2019 alone, the witness had connected with the President on 139 occasions via calling the Paget Road official residence of the President. Later, highlighting telephone records, the President's counsel made evident to the Commission that 14 telephone conversations had taken place since a forewarning was given by a foreign intelligence agency until the 20th of April, the day before the attack. When the President's counsel asked the witness as to why the President was not briefed on the foreign intelligence in this backdrop, the former SIS chief told the Commission that he did not convey it to the President. Subsequently, President's counsel Anura Maddegoda, representing former IGP Pujit Jayasundar, asked the witness whether the Foreign Intelligence Agency, which provided the forewarning, gave a special notification in the morning of the Easter Sunday, the day the attacks happened. In reply, Jayawardena said at around 8:27 a.m. on the Easter Sunday, the same foreign intelligence agency which provided the forewarning informed that an attack can happen from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. on that day. He added that he called then Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando at around 8:46 a.m. to brief him on the message, during which the first two explosions occurred. The President's Counsel then put to the witness that the relevant message was received at 6:30 a.m. and not at 8:27 a.m. and that the witness doctored it to show that it was received at 8:27 a.m. and submitted it to the Defence Secretary. Jayawardena, however, rejected the claim. Then President's Counsel Maitri Gunaratna, appearing on behalf of former President Maithripala Sirisena, asked the witness, wasn't there a threat of an attack well before the 21st of April, since the April 4th foreign intelligence warned of an imminent attack? The former director of the SIS replied that there was a threat and that's why he called the informant and confirmed the information. He added that there would be no need for a state intelligence service in the country just to share information with other sections as soon as they are received. The chairman of the commission, who was unhappy with the manner in which former director of the State Intelligence Service Nilantha Jayawardena responded during the cross-examination, said, quote, Jayawardena, I have advised you before as well. Only respond to the question posed by the lawyer who is supporting the commission. Do not argue or pose counter questions. So I am sternly advising you for the last time. If this repeats, legal action will be taken. Unquote. Meanwhile, concluding the evidence of former Defence Secretary Hemasiri Fernando, his legal counsel Dilshan Jayasuriya asked his client whether he observed that the former president was in ill health when he saw him at the airport on the 16th of April before the head of state left the country, especially since the former president had said that he was abroad when the attacks happened for medical treatment. The former Defence Secretary's reply was that he did not observe any indication of the former president being in ill health.
Now, to give you a market update, the all-share price index fell 11.85 points to close at 5,934.32 today. The S&P SL20 index of most liquid stocks gained 0.31% or 7.30 points to end at 2,390.02. The market turnover was 107 million rupees, where 68 stocks gained and 116 fell. Now, here's a brief report on today's market performance.
Today we saw a bit of selling pressure in the market, with the market dipping by around 11 points to end at 5,934 points. Today we are seeing a bit of buying interest in the plantation segment, with the tea prices slightly moving up again. We are seeing a significant price movement in plantation counters similar to yesterday. We saw the price movement yesterday as well, where the investors were on a buying spree on all plantations across the board. So with this, we are seeing a high level of turnover. Turnover exceeded again 2 billion to 2.2 billion rupees. So turnover has slightly dipped, with the retail favorite counters having a dip in the market. On the foreign front, we are seeing again an outflow of around 130 million rupees.
Now, in the currency market, Sri Lankan rupee ended flat at 184 rupees and 30 to 40 cents to the US dollar today, while bond yields were steady in the overall market. Now, let's take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.